My favorite part of being a dad is just having the opportunity to be blessed with children that I have the ability to train them in the way of the Lord, giving them the gospel, and that God has entrusted me to be their father and to lead them in the truth. And so 18 plus years of being able to shepherd their hearts and lead them to Christ is such an honor and a blessing that God's given me the ability to do.
Honestly, the journey. I would say the journey is probably the greatest thing about being a father. You get to witness so many great things with them crawling, walking, running, beating you with toy baseball bats is one of my favorites, said no one ever.
Well, I think my favorite part about being a father is being needed. We're all here on earth to serve other people. And it is a father's privilege to serve his family and his children. And I just really find it fulfilling to be able to help my children and now my grandchildren anytime they need me.
I would say that every stage of parenting has great things. With my kids being older now, it's nice to be able to have a nice conversation as a group or even one-on-one. Just enjoying humor and just enjoying life as basically equals instead of you being the parent of a younger child.
Probably not to accept worldly advice. Just an example, that's just their age. Boys will be boys, things like that. It's not biblical.
Just let God do the work. You know, being a father is challenging. It's tough, just like being a mother. Being a parent is hard. It can have its ups and downs, but let God in control.
It's okay to let your children fail. I think too many times we want to safeguard our children, give them the easiest and best life. And of course, that's very worthwhile. But sometimes the best thing you can do is allow them to fail, because out of that failure, they'll learn how to pick themselves up and continue on and have that achievement for themselves.
How much work it was going to be. I remember when Stephanie was born, a few days after we brought her home from the hospital, I went into work and I bumped into a door, and my boss asked me, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Oh, Stephanie has had us up crying all night. We haven't gotten any sleep and I'm really groggy." And he just looked at me and said, "Pay your dues." But it's a lot of work. It wouldn't have changed anything, but I think I might have been a little better prepared.
I think primarily the role of the father is to train your children up in the way in which they should go, and that is in the way of the Lord. And so you think of Deuteronomy 6, where when you rise up, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, it is always teaching them the Word of God throughout life.
Probably the biggest and one that you have to make sure is you're the leader of the family. You have to make sure that you're leading well. Part of leading, of course, is being a servant. So modeling servanthood to your children and to your wife, I think, is big. And probably another big one that we don't think about a lot of the times is that a father should be the cheerleader to the family. The identity is going to flow as a result of that. So encouraging your kids in everything, I think, is a big thing.
I look at spiritual leadership, and I say it because kids these days need that in their life. I think it's important to teach them while they're young, so when the Lord decides to take me home, he'll be spiritually ready to take on the enemy that is coming after him.
My first thought of being a dad was like, wow, then excited, and then shock. Like, does God know what He's doing? I'm not sure I'm qualified to be a father.
It was joy. Honestly, it really was. It was joy. I wasn't nervous. I'm not much of a nervous guy anyway, so I'm weird like that. I don't know. There's a reason why my mom had me last as a family. No, but it was joy. It was unending joy. I was just excited because I've always wanted a child.
Oh man, joy, thankfulness, excited, nervous, not knowing what to expect. Questions of, I'm excited to be a dad, but will I be a good dad? And yeah.
As we're taping this, today is my oldest daughter Stephanie's 29th birthday. So happy birthday, Stephanie. The memorable thing about Stephanie's birth was that she was born C-section. And after she was born, they took her to a warming table in an adjacent room. And I went with her. And as a little newborn, she was crying and squalling and carrying on. And as she laid there on the warming table crying, I bent down to her really close and I said, "Hello, Stephanie, welcome to the world." And she stopped crying, turned her head to me and opened her eyes and looked at me. And the nurse said, "You've been talking to her, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes, I have. I'd been reading to her and speaking with her before she was born, and she recognized my voice, and it was one of the highlights of my life."